Hey, I'm Greg Falcon. I'm the marketing manager for Trek Bicycle Stores of Florida. This is the third in the DIY new bike series. And we're going to talk about a topic that's often overlooked but is super important, and that's tire inflation. So it seems simple, but a lot of us get it wrong. And here's the reason. So tubes that we use are actually slightly porous on a microscopic level, which means they're always losing a little bit of air. So if we get the bike home, new bike, it's filled up, everything's good, we go for a ride. If we go a week later and go for a ride, the air pressure is going to drop 10 to 20 psi. And when that happens, you can have a couple problems. So if we had a high-end road bike like this with carbon fiber wheels, there's going to be a much higher chance of getting a flat with low air pressure. And we can also damage the carbon fiber rim just because the tire and the air volume is not protecting that rim. So that could be a very expensive mistake. Even more than that, hey, if we're running at the wrong air pressure, our bike's not going to handle the way it should at speed, and that becomes a safety issue. So you really do want to know what the right air pressure should be for the tires that you're using and check it on a regular basis. And how do you know what the air pressure should be? So if we go to the sidewall of any tire in Boston there, you're going to see a range. On this tire it might say 40 to 60 psi. So a safe bet is to be in the middle of that tire's range. With road bikes, we have a much higher pressure type of range, and you need to pay attention to that too. And you never want to exceed the maximum air pressure because that could damage the rim as well, and that could be dangerous, and it affects the handling in a negative way. So it's really important to get a pump where the pump has a gauge on there, and also it has a head that will work with the two common types of valve stems that we use. And the Bontrager pumps that we sell have a smart head on it. So here's an example of what we call a Schrader valve. And a Schrader valve is the same as a car tire valve. And what we need to do is we need to take the cap off, put the pump head on, fill it up to the right pressure, put the cap back on. On more expensive bikes, you're more likely to see what's called a Presta valve. This is also sometimes called a French valve. So a Presta valve is longer and thinner, and it actually has a core that you have to spin open with your finger before it will allow air in. So after you pump up the tire, you need to close that as well. And again, the Bontrager pumps that we sell will work with either one of these valve types. Here's our example of a Schrader valve. Same as a car tire valve. We take the cap off, put our pump head on, pull the lever back to lock it in place. We pump it up to our target air pressure. We release the head by unlocking it, dropping it down. When you hear a little air come out, that's actually not coming out of the tire, it's coming out of the pressure built up in the pump, so that's normal. And then we just put our cap back on. You're good to go. This is an example of a Presta valve. So Presta valves can have a cap on it. The cap really doesn't do anything, but you need to unscrew that first. Now this is very important. There's an inner core here. We have to unscrew that. And a good thing to do is just, sometimes they get stuck, is just hit it and make sure air is coming out. So unless we unscrew it, no air is ever going to come in, go into the tire. So now at this point, we use our Bontrager smart head. We push this straight on, lock it back, and now I'm going to hit my target air pressure. I'll release it. Again, that's air coming out of the pump, not out of the tire. And I screw up the valve, screw tight the valve core, and then put my cap on if I want, and we're good to go. Okay, so let me recap. 3 important things. 1, make sure you have a floor pump with a gauge and a head that will work, a smart head that will work with either valve head. 2, make sure you understand what your air pressure should be in your tire optimally. 3, before each ride, check your air pressure and fill it to that recommended air pressure if it needs it. And then go out, have a great ride, have fun, and thanks for your support. Take care.